What does it take to build real influence without becoming fake, forced, or full of yourself? Welcome to the Serving Second podcast, where we help second chair leaders create first place outcomes. I'm Dr. Toussaint Williams, and today's conversation is for the leader who knows they have something valuable to say, but has struggled to show it with clarity, confidence, and consistency. Today, my guest is the great Kirk Nugent. Now, Kirk helps leaders, entrepreneurs, and experts turn their message into meaningful impact through personal branding, live video, and content strategy. He has a unique way of helping people show up online with purpose, build trust, and create connection without feeling like they have to perform or pretend. This is going to be a strong conversation because a lot of second chair leaders wrestle with this tension. How do you build your voice while still honoring the leader and the mission that you serve? How do you grow your influence without making it all about you? Family, Kirk has a lot to say about that. And I think this conversation is going to help a lot of people, and I know it's going to help me. So I want you to get ready, put your seatbelt on, and let's dive in. Second podcast, you may be looking and saying, hey, Toussaint, this looks a little bit different. What's going on? Well, they say there are levels to this. And family, this is the level. This is where we're trying to get to. I am actually on location with Kirk Nugent. He is going to be our guest today. Some of you know him as a digital marketer. Some of you know him as a media pastor. You may know him as a father, a friend. But listen, Kirk Nugent, I just want to say welcome to the Serving Second podcast.
I am excited to be here, brother. And listen, I've been following. One of the things I love, you know, it is the ultimate compliment when a friend actually decides to join your community and seeks you out for your advice. Does not think it robbery to be like, boom, hey, let me put some money in your pocket. Let me get that consult session. So I just want to say a word of thanks and appreciation to you. I've already posted in the community letting people know you are here in the building.
Yes,
some of them are jealous already. They're like, what in the world? But I mean, I'm excited for the conversation we're going to have on this podcast. Love to see people branching out and doing their thing, using content as a vehicle to really amplify their voice. So I love what you're doing. And of course, excited to chat through some things with this podcast today, man. So it's going to be pretty dope.
So let me say this. And this is one of the things I'm going to kind of connect with when it comes to service. Like, you can't serve by yourself. In fact, Kirk is kind of the genesis of how this whole idea of serving second got started. I don't know if you remember.
Kind of.
So a couple years ago, at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, we started talking about just this idea of serving. And he was like, hey, why don't you jump on and we'll have a coaching session. Well, I'm just thinking it's going to be a one-on-one. He has all of these people in there. I can't see them, but they can see me. And he just asked these rapid-fire questions. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, how do I answer? And I didn't know much about video technology, but you really said, hey, listen, you are on to something. You really have the what people need when it comes to serving. And after building on what you said, this is kind of the genesis. And now we're in episode almost 25. I think this may be 25 episodes. So
that is
25th
so
episode.
dope.
And so I'm excited about this and being able to bring this around, that every week individuals that serve as an assistant, associate, advice, you can come and get wisdom and knowledge. And it looks better because of you.
Listen,
so thank you.
All we're trying to do is stop the scroll with the cameras and the lights and the different things. But what you are doing in terms of content, what you're doing in terms of, you know, value, right? The principles that you're teaching and espousing, the lived experience that you're allowing people into, that's the real secret sauce. So I'm excited to be able to kind of be here as well. Serving is what it's all about. Not live solving, live serving, or, you know, don't seek to go viral, seek to serve. Serving is a critical term that I have used as well in my own journey, but I'm excited to chop it up with you today.
Man, and I'm excited because this has been an adventure, one where, it's difficult for me because, okay, I know you, but for people who don't necessarily know you, kind of see the things that you're producing. But tell us a little bit, how did you get into this element of leadership in service?
Man, leadership in service. I love that, leadership in service. Honestly, I've always taken the opinion or the position that being able to serve or being in an IT media capacity is a vehicle capacity. It's like being in the automotive industry. People will use you to get where they're going. You're never the point. So you see what I'm saying? It's like IT and technology and media to an extent exists in every industry. So, but it isn't the point in any one of those industries. And so I have always looked at what I do, what God has uniquely gifted me with, as something that is in a service capacity. So if you're in IT, one of the things I do with my tech team, when I was at Oakwood University as CIO, I would go over the enrollment report. And I remember the first time we did it, they looked at me like I had a third head because they're like, we're network administrators, we're programmers, we're doing help desk, we're fixing printers, setting up new PCs. Why are we looking at the enrollment report? Because I wanted them to have an understanding of the environment in which we serve. If we didn't have a full understanding of who we're serving and how we're serving them and what's more important to them, right? Like the language that they speak, what are their priorities? If we didn't have a good understanding of that, then we actually can't show up relevant, you know? And so that was one of the things I always tried to couch in my leadership and also couch in my service, was really trying to understand who it is I'm actually serving and then moving from there. I think that's one of the things that has allowed me some success in content, because if you do not know your target audience and your value proposition, essentially how you serve them, the transformation you provide, it's noise because nobody's really clear on like, so what exactly is this for? Having that clarity is something that I've been able to have people come to me for. And I believe that God has kind of peppered that throughout my entire professional experience.
So talking about this professional experience, and some of you may not know, Kirk is not just a brand professional. Kirk is not just, before I connected him when he came back from serving as a legit missionary.
Yes,
and
you're
so,
right.
You know, people don't realize that. They may see the behind the scenes. Like Kirk, you were a missionary before. I mean, probably you were doing all these things kind of through there, but just walk us through that service where you you went overseas to do, how long was it? Were you there?
We were in South Africa. We served there for, I like to say 5 years, but my family always corrects me to say it was 4 and change. 4 and change. But I say 5 because I believe you start serving from the time you accept the call, and we accepted the call and had to stay in the States for a few months longer because we were pregnant with our daughter. So they wanted us, of course, to have her here. But thank you, Jesus. And when we have her here, we would be able to then go there a little more, I guess, with a little more confidence, a little more safely. So we served there in Pretoria, South Africa, but then also served the entire region. So we were, and in our faith tradition, the whole world is broken up into divisions. So we were working at the Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division office. I was there as the IT director, and we served that region, right? The entire SADC region is about 13 countries. That southern part of Africa. We loved it, man. You can see me already cheesing, man.
Yes.
We absolutely loved it, man. So yeah.
And it's crazy because I don't want to, for our audience to assume that what I know, like I was really excited hearing you coming back and seeing the excitement when you're actually on the ground serving, and now you're transitioning to again make a worldwide impact.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm really learning about, and sometimes you go in the algorithm, and Kirk knows a lot more about this than I do. I have no idea. But I can look around and see the different places across the globe where people see. And you said something
that's good.
about connecting and sharing, creating content. Like, and let me also be clear, like, while this is not a specific faith-based traditional, we're preaching on the Serving Second podcast, this is a biblical-based process, and we want to make sure that we are getting the gospel out.
Absolutely.
And one of the things you're sharing about it is that when you're creating content, you never know where that content can go.
Absolutely. You don't know where it can go. In fact, this is the faith component of it. Now, anytime anybody hears faith, they think to themselves, well, okay, you guys are believers. Faith exists in every industry.
Yeah.
And if you are an entrepreneur of any sort, you have to have faith. to believe that I am going to provide a service and people are going to come to your business to get that service. Like Jeff Bezos founding Amazon had to have faith. I don't care if he believes in a creator God but he had to believe in something. That's what faith is. So there's a faith component. When you're an entrepreneur, you put out content, you don't know who that content is going to hit. You don't know. And this is what I love about it. The algorithm is set up in a way that it's going to put your content in front of somebody who needs it most, or better yet, who was searching for it. And you don't know who that is. So you're putting it out with a major component of faith. You got to have faith in order to be in that space. So yeah, that's what content is. And then you hopefully put it out in a way that's authentic, that answers the question, that is consistent. And when you do that, people get a chance to see into your world and access your genius, is what I like to call it. Serving, in my opinion, man, like this is the primary thing. Anybody who seeks to be the chief operating officer, CEO, that is the lead servant. So, that whole flipped model of the inverted pyramid where you take the top person and put them at the bottom, every level above them in the organization is who they serve. And that shifts the perspective. And that's the way that I found it to be successful. So when I say to people, I have 12,000 subscribers, they're like, okay, cool. You're growing. I'm like, I've actually got enough.
Wow.
I'm good, because if for those who have 1 million subscribers, I just believe God has trusted them with that level of responsibility because of what he's placed within inside them. If he decides that, Kirk, I'm going to move you to 50,000, I'm good with that too. But whatever God has for me, I'm good with that. And so this is another reason why I also believe that if you have 100 subscribers or 5, serve them well until God sees fit to give you more.
Man, listen, I love the idea of concept of service, but I want to kind of pull back a little bit more for the individual that's watching, and may have some people who are still in that. I have 0, or I have maybe five subscribers, and their concern is, I'm worried about how I show up. I don't have all the gear. I don't have all the tech. And if I did have that, I'm still kind of nervous about personally how I show up. How would you deal with somebody who's a little bit hesitant about just going on and press and record?
No, I think this is I get this question all the time, versions of this question. What, how do I show up? I want to look good. I want to, the cameras and the lights, as I said before, is really just to stop the scroll, number one. Number two, I'm letting people know that I take me seriously by how I've set up my content. When they see the room, when they see the lighting, when they see the gear that's here, they recognize this person has made an investment to be able to show up in this way. They must deem their value of a level that warrants this level of investment. So my question that I always ask people, and I get in trouble sometimes because everybody's got to answer this for themselves. Are you a good investment? Can't answer that. I can't answer that. I sit in a coaching call and I sit across from somebody and I say, are you a good investment? Are you going to actually use the gear and the equipment that you are purchasing? Or better yet, have you been a good steward of the gear and the equipment you currently have? And those answers will tell you whether or not you need to go out and buy a whole lot of stuff, or if you need to really just leverage what you currently have to put out a quality product at the level that you currently are. The second piece of your question, I hate to, sorry to take so long to get around to it.
We want to get the real answer. That's what we're here. We want to get the real answer.
Yeah, the second part of your question is like in terms of I want to show up. I want to show up well. I want to show up confident. I want to be able to deliver the value that I know that's inside me, but I have this trepidation or this fear. I think a lot of people don't subscribe to the concept that content is life and life is content. So one of the things I do, this exercise with coaching clients where I say to them, guys, show me your calendar. What do you have on your calendar for this week? That's your content. Well, okay, well, I'm meeting with this client and I had a financial advisor. His days are booked with consult sessions. He's advising people how to manage their money. And so I asked him, I'm like, how much preparation do you do for these sessions? He's like, well, no, I'm in my bag. I'm I'm doing this. That's the content. We need to see you in your bag. We need to see you doing your thing. So me and his assistant worked out a little things that after every consult session, we built in a 15-minute buffer where he could, for 5 minutes, just verbal diarrhea his thoughts into the camera. Okay, so the consult session is done. Client has walked out. He's got a buffer of about a half hour before his next session. For about 5 minutes, he turns on the camera and he's like, okay, today I had a client and they had this issue. You anonymize it. We're not going to give it. They had this issue. And this was the question they asked. And my response every time I get this question is bam, 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 bam. That's his content. When he started putting out those videos, soars.
And family, this is one of the things I want to make sure we're getting, because for many people, they look and they think content, and I have to write a whole script. I got to be able to, create this production. And the reality is, what I'm hearing you say is, we're probably doing a lot more than you think you are.
Oh, absolutely.
And people want to see that authentic nature of who you are. And I think because with the spawn of AI, there is a, I just want to try to make sure I can remember the term. There is a deficit of authenticity.
Absolutely. In fact, this is the reputation is digital. And right now we're in a trust recession.
Trust
recession has been brought on specifically and uniquely just by AI. AI has ushered in a trust recession. So when you watch a video, you now watch it with skepticism. You're almost like turning a side eye, like, is that real? Like, real talk, a good friend of ours, a mutual friend, he's got a men's conference coming up. There's a video that he, like a promo, and he's sitting on the edge of this couch, and I'm not gonna lie to you, brother, I was looking at that video like, is this AI?
Yes.
Because it's just a little too clean. I'm like, I don't even know if he has that couch. Now, it turns out the video was real, but that whole, thing in my mind of like, yo, is this real? Is this, that's a question that each of us have. Now my question to you and to the audience is, what happens when you find out it is AI? You swipe.
Yeah.
You almost feel like you were robbed.
You do.
Why is it that every one of us have that feeling, and yet AI is still such a big thing? Because AI has its place, but not for creating. Because I believe creating is something that God gave innately to his children. He's the first creator.
Yeah.
And he gave us the indelible impression and desire, almost commandment, to create. And we cannot offload that. We cannot outsource that to artificial intelligence, to robots. Creating is something God gave us. And I think there's something indelible inside of us that it just feels odd.
Man, it does. And I want to push for, and again, I want to have for that individual who is in a assistant associate, and I think in that vice, that chief of staff, usually those individuals are not the ones that are leading or in the front or in. And what I like, what you're saying is there is a place for wherever you serve.
I totally agree.
And what I love about this is that, because initially, and I've had the opportunity to work with a number of great pastors, and, you work with Pastor W. Snell and, working with Bird. And I guess for me, one of the things that was difficult initially is because, number one, I stutter, especially when I talk. And,
I think I would use that joint.
Yes. It's crazy because it doesn't happen all the time, but when I'm speaking, and so that was a fear or a phobia of mine. What are people going to say if I get up and I start, and I'm like, and in my mind, and then the other reality is like, I'm behind the scenes, usually working behind the scenes. What I want somebody to hear from this conversation is that there's a space for that. There is a voice for that. There's a community that needs to know exactly what you're doing. So if you're a sous chef, if you are a chief of staff, if you're a vice, there are other individuals that need that growth. And what I'm kind of hearing from you is it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't.
You don't have to be
flaws and all.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. See, what you're talking about right now is part of the framework that I teach. But so I want to say from two angles. There's your story is your cheat code.
Yeah.
Your story, the quibbles, quirks, the idiosyncrasies, the things that make you uniquely you, which is not perfect.
Yeah.
That's your cheat code. In fact, that's your blueprint to know who you should serve. I mean, that's like, You talk about having let me use it let me anonymize an example. So I was working with a guy, and he missed fifth, I think I'm saying this right, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. He missed those years because he was undocumented.
Wow.
Now, he was undocumented before the term existed, because he's my age.
Okay.
So he was undocumented before it was a cool thing. I'm just keeping it real. I mean, in the current environment, we all know what undocumented means, but he was undocumented before. Now, because of that, he had an education gap. And in order to overcome his education gap, he actually learned skills that not only allowed him to catch back up to his peers, but excel and pass them. So now he's an educator, teaching others who have an education gap how to overcome that. His story is the blueprint for who he can serve. What I did with him in coaching is to help him to realize you not only can serve those who have an education gap, because that's in your story, but you can actually help undocumented. And he was just like, wow, I've been sitting on this. And then he had a conversation with his mom, because there's no way for him to share that story because it wasn't his fault that you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that healing conversation that he had with his mother, that conversation was one that he needed to have, but were it not for him recognizing I can actually serve in this way, he would never have had that conversation. I'm just kind of, this is how it all works. And that's the name of my platform. Romans 8:28 says that, for we know that in all things God works it all together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. That's quite literally how it all works. But when you look at your story from that perspective as a blueprint, then the quibbles and quirks and quote unquote flaws actually become cheat codes.
Yeah.
Because when I say I have OCD, when I say I have low iron deficiency and it causes me to yawn, and people are looking at me like, what? So how do you get on camera? I yawn on camera.
Yeah.
And they're looking at me like, I would never want to do that. My audience all knows I yawn. So for you use the stutter. It's going to engender you to those who you're uniquely called to serve. And here's the other thing I want to say. In an era of AI, when things are polished, the human aspects actually cause people to be more interested. Oh, this guy's not.
It's real.
He's real. Like, who would leave that in? And this is what I say with content as well. Is like, no, don't make it as polished as it can be. Keep some of the imperfections in there, because it literally tells your tribe you belong here.
Man, and this is not just a interview. Like this is the healing session. The idea of, because the reality is, for many people, that's the thing that will hinder them. Like, I'm scared. I don't want people to look at me. I don't want to. And because it kind of led to my next question. When it comes to personal branding, where do people usually start wrong? And I think for me, it was like trying to fix all the things that would not make me like so-and-so.
Right.
Like, I can't show up like this. Or the crazy thing is, and I'll share this with you, when, some of my audience may know Pastor Doggett, James Doggett. He was like the pastor when we were going to, and he had this tick where he would scratch his head and he would pull up his belt, and I'm thinking, man, that's what good preaching is. It's, I'm scratching my head and pulling and here's the crazy thing. I found out it was a medical condition that he had.
Oh, wow.
Because he had a assistant that was assisting his body. He had something on his belt. That was pulling up. And here I am thinking this is cool, or this is something that's super. But he had something that I can imagine he wish he could,
he probably wish he could
get rid of it.
Get rid of it, yeah.
And I think it just really kind of forced me to, first of all, embrace who God created us to be.
Absolutely.
And this is really crazy, but I was reading Revelation, I think it was 4 or 5, or just a random thing where it was talking about how it was described the type of individual or things that were worshiping God. And one had 7 eyes.
Come on.
And all this kind of crazy stuff. And the thing I was looking at, not to get real super deep into Revelation, but the idea was their focus was to worship. And God hit me, if they can worship looking crazy and weird,
come on,
how much more can we? I love that idea of it. Just kind of freed me to be able to say, this is how God created me to be. And I can just worship him for my uniqueness. And I think that's the concept of this personal brand, that there's something unique that everybody brings that you can not just worship God for, but you can serve others with. And that kind of gives you the license to worship.
Absolutely.
It gives you the license to serve because I'm unique. I got these issues, but there are other people that need to hear that and will be able to benefit from my quirkiness, and my yawning, and all the other stuff.
Listen, you know, when we're talking about a personal brand, I love what you just shared. Now, I do think that people really need to take a thoughtful moment to really consider all that you just kind of deposited. I mean, because family, like this is good stuff. But I will say, when it comes down to personal brand, I do think that the whenever I had a guy who was saying to me, man, listen, just prepared. I have my content ready. I know what I want to say, but I'm just a little apprehensive about the Q&A. What can I do? If somebody asks a question I don't know, and I said, you tell them you don't know. And he just kind of looked at me like, but I'm supposed to be the expert. And I was like, you're not supposed to be the expert. You either are or you're not. So, and the way you answer a question does not determine if you're an expert. The way you answer a question just tells people yes or no. Do you know every answer to every question in the world? No. Well, then to the questions you know the answer to, you answer them. And I think when I said what would really put him at ease, and this is the part I wanted to share with you guys, is if you answer from the perspective of your story, no one can argue.
Wow. Yeah.
I want to repeat that again. If you answer from the perspective of your story, no one can argue. No one can argue, because when you couch it in what I have experienced has led me to believe this is the answer to your question. Somebody may say, I have experienced something different, but they cannot negate the value of what you've experienced and what that has led you to believe. And that to me is the ultimate cheat code when it comes on to putting something out there that you can feel confident about, that has helped you. Because, it's been bulletproof. I mean, essentially, it's been in the fire already. It has helped someone. So now it's helping others. And I know you got more stuff for us to touch on, listen. But there's so many other ways that I could go with that. But yeah, this is the life that I live. I just believe that God has called me into a space to assist people to leverage the vehicle of content to take the value that's within them and make it available to the world. We are living epistles. And the challenge is we look at the Bible as a finished work. God's still writing. Yeah. He's writing in your story. He's writing in my story. He's writing in the person that's watching right now, their story. And if he's writing something unique in Toussaint's story, and he's writing something unique in Kirk's story, then we each have a responsibility to steward the story God is writing. Yes. Toussaint can't steward my story. My dad can't steward my story. I alone can steward my story. So showing up as someone else is robbing the world of the story God is writing in you. Wow. And let me put some biblical context on that. I really love to do that. Philippians 1:6, one of my favorite texts. Come on. It says, he who began a good work in you will continue to perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. That's good. I love what you're saying is that there is a work that God is working in us, that you're not perfect. Like you were not created perfect. Like the only person, that doesn't happen until, get to heaven. But exactly. The idea of there's still growth. And I want to encourage somebody who may feel like I'm not there. I don't have all the answers. But this is a growth process that every time you wake up, every time that sun hits your eyes, you have an opportunity to start the day and say, okay, God, where do you want me to grow today? Yeah, there's a major thing this is so gold. Yeah. And I'm going to add that Philippians text to my arsenal of things that I share. There's one thing I know you have more stuff that you want to get to, but there's one thing when I thought about when you gave me the invitation, it's like, hey, I want you to come on the podcast. Of course, I did my own little homework to ensure that it isn't, what can I add to the concept or the conversation that would be beneficial to those who are watching. One of the things that I feel God led me to is this concept of we're all second. I don't care what role you're in. We're all second. Because we serve the one. Yeah. So each person is gonna have to figure out how to serve a second. Yes. You feel me? Yes, sir. You could be president of the United States, you're second. You're second. It's one pastor that I heard called it moon ministry. Yes. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. I know where you're going, but somebody needs to hear that. Moon ministry. Moon ministry. Yes. So teach us. That's the title of this podcast, Moon Ministry. That's it. Walk us through. The concept of moon ministry is simply The moon is a reflection of the sun.
Yeah.
The moon is second, the lesser light.
Yeah.
As much as we might look at the moon and say, man, I would love to be, the moon. We put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
We didn't put a man on the sun. You better not. But the moon is the lesser light. It's second. It doesn't matter where you achieve or what you've attained to, what heights that God has allowed you to walk on. You're still second.
Mm-hmm.
And serving second is a skill set the entire world needs to have. The entire world. I would dare say that those who have gone further faster than you in the same industry that you're in the disciplines that, the niche that you have expertise in, it's because they've learned how to serve second. They've recognized, like for me, things didn't start moving until I relinquished control of what I thought the plans for my life was going to be. I didn't want to go to South Africa.
Yeah.
That was not a part of my plan. But it just became abundantly clear that this was where God was leading, and it wasn't my decision.
Yeah.
And he was just basically saying, so are you going to allow me to do this or no?
Yeah.
And that's, I think about these things from the perspective of what are the success components? What is going to allow people to really settle into the thing that they're doing? I have a framework that I like to say, and it goes like this. You steward your story with content. Why do I say steward? Because a steward is not the owner. Steward is like a guardian.
Yeah,
like
manager.
You're a manager. Okay, you're second. You steward the story. It's your story, but God's writing it, and you can't even steward all of it because you don't know what all of it is yet. God, you only know up to today, so you can only steward what has happened, not what is to be. So God's like, focus on what I've already done. I'll focus on what is coming next. So if you steward your story with content, there are some things that happen invariably when you do that. This is not like I don't know what the term out. It's not like, hey, if you do this, you're gonna get. No, if you do this, these things happen. Seek ye first the kingdom and all these things. This is part of all these things. Well, first of all, you discover purpose.
Yeah.
You steward your story with content. You begin to discover purpose. You begin to be like, oh snap, I was built for this. My dad used to have this recorder on his shoulder, the big old, and he would tap me at a family reunion and he would just do like this. And for the next 2-3 hours, I would just talk. And I would interview aunts and uncles who had flown in from England and Jamaica and all these places. God was preparing me to be Praise Cafe host. Then I'm stewarding my story. And God will create opportunities and positions for you to utilize what he's placed in your story, but only if you have recognized that that's part of your arsenal. So you steward your story with content, you begin to discover purpose. The purpose is confirmed by the lives that you change. That's the C. So steward your story with content. You will discover purpose. DCEM is the framework. Discovering purpose is confirmed by the lives that you change. People's lives will be changed because they see a version of themselves in you. He was where I am. I'd like to be where he is. So I'm following Toussaint, or I'm following Kirk, or I'm following Becky, or Samantha. I'm following them because I'd like to get and experience the same transformation that they have experienced. So when you do that and people begin to experience it, you change lives. And they will come and tell you, yo, Toussaint, you changed my life. Then you will literally say to yourself, dang, that's part of my purpose. And then the other last two, I'll make it brief.
No.
You will expand your reach. You can't help but expand your reach. When a person's life has been changed, they are going to talk, and that expands your reach. Every person, every client that I have is word of mouth. Hey, man, you help me this way. Can you help this guy too? Hey, man, come on in. Let's what you got going on. You expand your reach. And every time you expand your reach, you multiply your opportunities. Steward your story with content. You will discover purpose, change lives, expand your reach, multiply opportunities. This is how it all works.
So making it work. But one of the things that you're doing, you're saying I want to make it work. But then there's also you could do this without being on live stream. Like,
you could.
Why is
could.
video so important for the person that says, I want to expand my reach. I want to do mission. I know my service. Why do I have to put it? Or have to? Why should I put it on? What's the point of that?
I think it's part of the steward part.
We through that.
Stewardship means if I can reach 20,000 people where I'm only reaching one, I'm not being a good steward. So serving at scale is what content is. That's all it is. Serving at scale is what content is.
For slow people, the GED class.
Yeah.
Serving at scale, what does that mean?
I can put out one video and serve 20,000 people, or I can have a one-on-one session with you and serve just you. But so let the algorithm amplify what you're doing. That's content is just stewardship in mass.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. The algorithm, get this, is set up so that if you title it right, this is good stewardship. If you thumbnail it right, good stewardship. If you put search optimized tags on it right, good stewardship. The algorithm will be able to put that piece of content in front of the person who needs it most. That's serving at scale. I'm asleep and I wake up in the morning and I have comments from somebody who was like, man, this video, it helped me.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I didn't put that video out, that person continues to search. Maybe they find me. Maybe I do a one-on-one with them and I probably can solve their problem. But how much longer did it take? And how much impact did I lose? I think of the disciples and I say to myself, man, if they had YouTube, if they had Facebook, if they had Twitter or X, if they had Instagram and TikTok, these guys would be killing that joint. Why? Because what technology they did have, they made good use of. So this is our version. And so you want to make sure it's a stewardship component. You could just do one-on-one. You don't have to turn on the camera. But I said this at the outset of our conversation. Technology and media is a vehicle to get to where you want to go. It is never the point. And this is why one of the things that I always try to do is help people to realize how they can leverage that vehicle without going to become a video editing expert. I don't believe you need to edit video in order to have the video look top quality. How can we put the video out in a way that still feels normal and natural and yet doesn't take all of that time? This is again, it's part of that good stewardship. It's part of serving at scale. It's part of kind of putting together a strategy and a workflow that feels natural to you. I use this phrase, speak video in your native tongue. You know, it's like English. If I speak it in my native tongue, which is Patois, some people may not understand. But the point is, everyone has a native video or content tongue. You've got to figure out what yours is and whatever that is. So there are people who love editing. Go ahead and edit. But then there are those who are like me who are allergic. Like I sneeze every time. I have to sit in front of an edit suite. But yeah, and if you're like me, then I say, come on through. Let me teach you this no video editing required strategy. And so you can get to the main point. What is the main point? Getting your message out there.
This is a master class in, I was going to say in video editing. No, this is master class in life. How to live, how it all works is really important. But Kirk, I want to get to this last question.
Yeah.
And this is for the person who's listening, who knows that they have something, but they kind of keep putting it off. What is the one step they can start this week to kind of starting with purpose?
You got to get clear on who you are uniquely designed to serve. And I'm going to skip through maybe 4 or 5 sessions of coaching and just say, it's in the mirror.
Wow.
It's in the mirror. You can find who you're uniquely qualified to serve. Let me say it differently. You are unfairly qualified to serve an earlier version of you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and again, I want to make sure we're clear because again, Kirk has been doing this for years, and I got a GED in technology, so I'm still learning in this whole process. But what you're saying is the best person I can serve is a younger me.
Yeah.
So that, and I want to speak to somebody. I want to make very clear. You may be thinking, who am I going to connect with? No, if you were able to share some wisdom with a younger you, what would you say? And I love that because everybody wished we had some kind of wisdom back then to kind of guide us through that.
But the only thing I would add there is that the younger version of you could be yesterday's version. And you know exactly what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
Because there's things that you learned today that you didn't know yesterday. So that some of my best performing videos are things that I learned that morning and I recorded that afternoon, posted it that evening. And somebody else was able to learn it as well. But I also didn't know it.
Yeah.
And here's the clincher, the coup de grace. If you really want to ensure that something that you've learned is ingrained, you teach it to somebody else.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
again, content allows you to flex that muscle of teaching it to someone else, even though there's nobody in the room with you. Content is the introvert's dream, because I get to sit in front of that camera and speak to millions without ever having to leave my home. But content also allows you to galvanize the way you're going to say something. It allows you to put some of those stories in place. Like, I have my go-to arsenal of stories to be able to explain certain things because I've been doing it in front of a camera for so long, such that when I do go to speak publicly, at an actual meeting or event or workshop, I've developed a muscle that now serves me in the public sphere as it does in the digital sphere as well. So no, it's not just yesterday or your earlier version of yourself. It's also yesterday version of you. And that version of you is very specific, because I think a lot of times we tend to, when I say this, people oversimplify it. Like, oh, okay, somebody who's like this, and they think of one area. No, think of everything that makes up your profile. Your age, your demographic, your background, where you were born. Like me, I was born here in the States, but just barely. My parents are Jamaican. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like we just got here when I was born. My mom came up pregnant. So in my family, it's before Kirk, after Kirk. So when I say born Jamaican, there's a group that understands what I'm talking about. And then in our faith tradition, there's a Caribbean culture within our faith tradition that's super conservative. I hate to say it, but they're works based. And so there's a way that I can speak to them because I am them.
Yeah.
That others cannot. That's what I mean when I say you're unfairly qualified to speak to. I was working with a guy who's an Asian, and he's like, man, I got this new hair product for Black women. Help me get this thing off the ground. I was like, never. Because you don't have any street cred. You have no street cred. So his thinking is, okay, I'm going to get some Black women who are going to be the front face of this product. It still fell flat once people understood where it came from. The point is, street credibility is exactly that. I'm, when people in Christian spaces, people will say like, hey, can you do a video on alcoholism? I said, I can, but I've never been an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have street cred. We're like, well, no, AA doesn't allow you to run a chapter unless you have the struggle.
I love that.
You don't have relevance. You don't have relevance. And I think this is where God is, I think, pouring into our story. Like, what is your struggle? Like, I am a serial procrastinator. I can work with procrastinators. Like that. But if you don't struggle with procrastination, I don't want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Because just do it. Why don't you just do it? I hate hearing that stuff. Because real talk, that is somebody who doesn't have the context of the struggle.
So if I can just kind of share this concept, the struggle, my challenge pretty much helps to create a roadmap to the people I can serve.
Absolutely.
Like, because of my issues, because of challenge. And that's ultimately why Serving Second started. I spent 20 years as an assistant and associate.
You're using what you got.
And God was like, 2 is in your middle name. I'm a second born son. And so like everything kind of, and so I'm not just talking, what he's selling, but real life, that's the reason why Serving Second got started, because God was saying, this is who you're created to be, and this is who you're serving. And I firmly believe that you're here, you're listening, you're watching, because you can relate to what we're experiencing. And so, Kirk, thank you so much. But before we leave, I need people there may be some people that want to pour into your ministry. They may want to be able to coach by you.
Hey.
They want to learn from, behind the scenes. Where can they go? How can they be a part of the community?
Man, everything is on my website, kirkrnugent.com. kirkrnugent.com. Now, a lot of times people will they'll put just Kirk Nugent without the R, and there's a lovely gentleman. He's phenomenal. But it's not me.
Yeah, not you. Yes.
Well, we're both Black. We're both from Jamaica.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I've actually met him a couple times.
Get out of here.
We've just kind of assumed that we are family because we can't figure out where the connection is. But it's kirkrnugent.com. And right now we have 2 challenges going. One is called the A-List Digital Footprint Challenge. It is designed to allow you to control the digital version of yourself. As I said earlier, reputation is digital. If somebody Googles you, what do they come back with? Have you Googled yourself? Google yourself. When you find some things that you didn't know were there, go ahead and take the challenge. But then the second thing that we've got going on is this. I mentioned it earlier. It's a no video editing required challenge. It's a 90-minute challenge that I do for free in my community. and I do it every second and fourth Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So you could definitely join for that. If you do that second challenge, the one that's no cost to you, that one also comes with a course that's called the Digital Dominance Accelerator. You got to come up with these names.
Yes.
But yeah, no, those are the things that I currently have. But KirkRNugent.com is going to be your landing page for everything. KirkRNugent.com, there's a button right at the top that says work with me, and you can hit that and we're off to the races. Maybe for somebody it's none of the above, they just want some clarity. There's a clarity call on that page as well. So I'm open in whatever way and capacity I can be of service. I'd love to be able to do that. I just believe in this old adage that if I help enough people get what they want, I'm going to get what I want.
Yeah.
And it still comes out of that whole concept of serving second, right? If I help enough people get what they want, I'm going to get what I want. And what I want is to be able to take care of my family.
Yeah.
What I want is to be able to own my day. I want to be able to shoot a podcast at noon on a Monday, right? I want that's what I want, and that's what God has written into my story, and I just believe that He's calling me to do that for others. So that's really it for me, man. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be on today,
man. Thank you, Kirk, and family. This is where you learn working together, connecting relationships. I never thought, all this, several years ago, maybe almost 10 years ago, but now we're able to grow and develop, and we're here because of a conversation I had with Kirk. KirkRNugent.com. KirkRNugent.com. You want to join the challenge, and this is if you want to know what you're going to get as a result of the challenge, follow Serving Second, because he has been the one that's helped kind of put the push and the kick, getting that information out there.
Yeah.
But family, this has been special because it's allowed, again, for me to be affirmed with, hey, I don't have everything right. I got issues, I got challenges, I stutter, I got all kind of mess ups and challenges, but that lets us know we are real. We're growing, we're learning, and we're going to end with that Philippians 1:6, that he who began a good work in you will continue to perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. God is still working in you. He's working on you. He wants to share what he's doing with others. So let's make it a great day, and let's remember our mission. The mission that I serve is greater than my title. The mission that I serve is greater than my title. Thank you for joining the Serving Second podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Toussaint Williams, and look forward to seeing you next week. Talk to you later.